when we got on to the start of the game, we were all on a train, and we were heading towards a place called Uppsala. We were looking for any connections we could regarding the Society, a group of Vaesen hunters. And when we got there, we were on our way to a place called Castle Gillenkreutz. We were looking for someone called Linnea. Was it Belfaclynt or Elfaclynt?
Elfaclynt.
So we were looking for Linnea. When we arrived, we went and found some lodgings for the evening. We left Victor to go about his own business. After we'd got settled in and put our luggage away, we decided to go looking for our transient. We went back to the castle where we dropped him off, went up to the front door, and from there we found a wax paper note saying that any correspondence regarding the castle or Miss Elfaclynt is to be redirected to a notary Franz Hotchkiss of Cloister Street, at which point we were assailed by one of the local police constabulary, and he warned us about troublemakers in the area, and also warned us against an unusual group of misfits known as the Junta. They appear to be some kind of revolutionary group. Although not very common, they are frequent enough to warrant the police attention. I think that was about the long and the short of it.
That's pretty much where we left it.
Yeah, we did also, we noticed, we knew that there'd been a fire here. We didn't know how the fire had started, but we've noticed along our travels that it's almost like the castle seems to be the epicentre of fire. It's kind of spread from around the castle.
Yeah, we certainly noticed that area, all the surrounding streets around the castle have, and looks like it's a massive multi-block fire, Great Fire of London type proportions. Everything looks like it caught on fire here.
But it all kind of, lots of places caught on fire at the same time.
Yeah, didn't the officer also have burn marks all across most of his body?
Yeah.
Face and hands, if I recall rightly.
What was unusual is that the castle itself was completely untouched.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of overgrowth there was, it should have been a perfect sort of fuel for the fire, but it seems like it was completely, none of the grounds, none of the buildings surrounding and the castle itself, all completely untouched.
Yeah, one would have thought it would have gone up like a Christmas tree, but obviously not.
Oh, and also that the lady is currently residing in the insane asylum, of which she has been a frequent visitor.
Apparently, she committed herself.
They will be doing it with the touched.
That's rich, coming from our resident Malkavian.
I resemble that remark. Oh, hang on, wait a minute, no, that's wrong. Damn, I always get that one wrong.
Okay,
Yeah, I think then we kind of headed back to the place that we were staying then, didn't we?
Yep.
Because we had fish pie for supper.
Yeah, that's right. So we will start at breakfast next morning, if that's okay. So Uppsala is beginning to slide into winter. It's right on the cusp. You can feel the weather almost about to turn. Every now and again, yesterday it was like the rain. You could every now and again you just hit by just slightly harder bit. We think, this is beginning to turn sleety in places. You think at some point that this city, maybe within a few weeks, will probably be completely blanketed in snow. But right now, it's just got that dank, cold, oppressive feel to it, not helped by the burnt surroundings and just the general grey air that sort of hangs over the city. Mrs. Rasmussen, she's busying herself in the kitchen and basically arranges a fairly a light but hearty breakfast for yourselves and gather around the dining room table, discussing the plans for today and thus getting in.
So which do you suggest that we visit first? The name on that piece of paper or the woman herself?
Probably not a good idea to turn up at an asylum.
And the doctor?
Yeah, I'm not. They might let you in, but they probably, well, they won't let all of us in.
I'm a lady, I don't like to be on my own.
You and the pastor might get in.
And shall we go and see who this appointed trustee is? See what they have to say?
You'd say all inquiries lead to... I'm just trying... The note didn't actually say she owned the place. I'm trying to think of the connections to this castle under sheer fact that we were told to come here. Well, need to be told to come here.
We were told to come here because she had information on the people that we're looking for.
Right. In that case, I think we need to see her executive, don't we? And then maybe with that, we'll actually then get to see her.
Yeah, see how easy it is to make an appointment.
So does she plan to go to see the notary?
I would think that's going to be our best option.
Okay, so if you look, Cloister Street is basically sort of right in the heart of the city, over the river from your current location, and it's pretty much just opposite the cathedral. It's quite a bracing walk. Mrs. Rasmus says, so I'll be expecting you back for dinner this evening?
Indeed.
Excellent. Well, you'll find plenty of places open for food during the day. You get down. There are plenty around the cathedral, around the university if you're looking for cheap food, or obviously if you get around the castle or etc. Things can improve garden quality. Have a nice day, and I'll see you later on.
Thank you for your help.
You stroll out and actually get into sort of like the busy and the bustle. Pretty much the people of Uppsala are heading to work as you guys are heading out as well. You make your way through the hustle and bustle of Uppsala, and again you just notice that real mix of people, students, clerics from the cathedral and the university, workers. There's a lot of workers. You see a lot of migrant workers coming in. Obviously, there's quite a big reconstruction project going on in the town. One of the common things you see is carts just being slowly dragged. The streets are full of bricks, just heavily laden down with bricks. It looks like all the buildings that are being replaced are being replaced by brick-built buildings, and you know that from what you know about Sala, it's actually got quite a it sits on natural clay beds, so there's quite a area. It's well known for its for producing good quality brick and aquavit. You move through and you soon find yourself sort of like down on Ironbridge Street in the area square of the cathedral. The cathedral is an imposing building. It kind of looms. It's obviously pretty much the tallest thing around in the town. It just kind of looms over everything, and you can see it's got quite a busy, bustling sort of community of priests, hurrying around, lay clergy, choir boys. Yeah, it's all there. So they're kind of mixed in with students from the university wearing their scholars' gowns as well. Again, Scotland. The university is a large building. It's probably larger than the cathedral in terms of ground plan, but just not as tall or as imposing. You cross over the River Ferris and you find yourself in Cloister Street. It's east of the river. It was also unfortunately untouched by the fire. The fire didn't seem to get this far into the heart of the city. So it's actually maintained its medieval character. The buildings tend to be three stories tall, canted in, so they step in over the street.
Yeah.
As well, most of them are sort of like half timber framed. It would be described as quaint and probably be a tourist attraction these days. But here it's just got that slightly run-down feel about it. I mean, these buildings are old. The address you track down, first thing you're surprised is actually it's not you're expecting a sort of like an office of some description, but actually it's a furrier's.
Oh,
Okay.
What are you guys doing?
I looked through the window.
You look through the window of the shop. Well, it is, and it's definitely a shop. It's got nice big sort of bay windows. They are glazed in tiny old glass panes. Lots of
Like the old-fashioned sweet shop.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, so yeah, it's a good view on it. And you can see the wares inside. Combination of raw furs from the north, plus obviously selection of fur coats, hats, gloves, mittens, that kind of thing, as well.
okay.
I see a shop assistant.
Yeah, you see a shopkeeper in. He seems to be basically brushing some of the coats down, just tending to his stock. So if fur is something that you can't just leave on the shelf. You're gonna have to brush it, otherwise it's going to get dusty. And but he's kind of busying himself around. The shop is clearly open.
Not quite what I was expecting, to be honest.
Perhaps he's a relative or a next of kin. Are we heading?
Well, we might as well. It's got the right address, I'm presuming, so...
Appears to be the right address, yeah. I mean, you don't know the city that well, but it's fairly simple. It is number 3 Cloister Street. This is definitely number 3 Cloister Street.
Oh well. Let's see. Hello.
Al, what are you doing? You're ominously quiet.
They've been looking at the side of the shop. I've just been keeping my eye open in the surrounding street just to see if there was anything that takes my fancy. But if not, I'll follow in after the others.
Yeah, okay. The street you would describe is a mixed collection of the older trades. Here, you can see it's definitely a good shopping street. You've got a bit of a mix of everything here. Milliners, cobblers, general store. It's a good mix of a street. I would like you to make a vigilance test for me.
I'm no good at vigilance.
Oh dear.
No.
Yeah. You didn't make it?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, so the place is coming to life. You can see that. You can see there's a good array of shops here, but it is definitely an older part of the city. It's got that feel about it. It's been around forever. You notice the others sort of like making their way into the shop, and it's pretty much the little tinkle of the bell as you walk in. It kind of jogs you out of your reverie. The others, you walk in as you walk into the shop. The owner sort of looks up from brushing down a particularly impressive looking bearskin coat. He looks up and goes, kind of looks like zeroes in first on you, Scott, and then then looks slightly confused and goes, yes, may I? Oh, I apologize. May I help you? Are you together?
We are indeed. We're looking for, given the name of the executor and the name of the woman.
Notary Hotchkiss. Yes, he has rooms here in the building. If you will bear with me, I'll just escort you through, if that's okay.
Thank you.
One second. He's on the top floor, I'm afraid. But he basically shouts out back, and basically a teenager, bored-looking teenager, sort of like kind of sticks his head around the window, goes, they were basically very grumpy. Yes, father. And he says, would you escort these people up to Notary Hospice's room offices, please? You were escorted up what was obviously the flat above the shop where the family live. You've got the smell of cooking, the gaggle of children, and also a little bit of that whiff of tanning, tanning and curing.
Yeah. You
can see the wife is clearly working on manufacturing what looks like fur mittens at the moment. One of the older daughters seems to be helping as well. The stairs kind of like that open staircase, it just goes up, you wind up, you eventually come to a door that the boy just sort of, he's in there. Oh no, he just knocks on the door, and after a few minutes a reed-like man, thin, small glasses, middle age, sort of opens, sort of like peeks around the door and goes, may I help you?
Indeed. We're looking to try and make an appointment with the lady. Give him the name, because I'm crap with names, I've got it already.
Really, please come in. He ushers you into first room, which is, it's definitely an office. There's just stacks of paper and books and ledgers bloody everywhere. There's also quite a elderly looking cat that he basically has to shoo off his chair, which takes a while because he's definitely not for moving. But he offers
off my chair.
Yeah, she offers. Please take a seat. Can I offer you refreshments, coffee, tea, something a little stronger? Well, forgive me, Father.
No, by all means, that's quite all right. We're not planning on staying for a particularly long amount of time anyway, so we'll just only bother you as long as is necessary.
You have an interest in Miss Elfaclynt? I'm in charge of her affairs whilst she is indisposed. I was wondering, would you mind sharing your business with Miss Elfaclynt? I'm sure if you can come to arrangement to arrange a meeting with her.
I've been writing a book on the effects of living in large buildings alone and how it plays on people's mental capacities. And her name was given to me by a colleague, and I was just wondering if she would be up for an interview for my
Becky,
book.
I would love you to make a observation roll, please.
Can you make it for me?
Yeah, certainly. Let's have a look.
Sorry.
Character. So you have got on manipulation, I should say. You have got 3 dice to roll. You lucky cow.
Those are not nice words, Mr. Olds.
I know. You did get 1 success. Bear with me. I need to actually roll a counter roll in a minute. Well, that's unfortunate. You make up your wonderful story about the effects of living in large houses alone, and he leans forward on his chair and goes, how do you know Miss Elfaclynt was living alone? By the way, I got 3. I got 3. Full disclosure, I got 3 successes.
I tried.
Yeah. Make an observation roll.
Certainly. I might actually be able to pull this one off. Mm-hmm. Famous last words. Oh, God!
Oh, dear. Oh, well. Oh, you can push if you want.
Nah, it's too early.
So how do you know she was living alone?
I didn't. I assumed. My apologies.
Forgive me, I am her guardian of her affairs, and have been given sort of a...
We must confess, we did visit the castle before, and we spoke to one of your fine constabulary who did inform us of the good Miss Elfaclynt and her current whereabouts and predisposition.
Okay. That would explain your prior knowledge and assumptions. I'm going to ask you to make a manipulation roll, because you are
trying to back my story up.
Yeah.
I could. I mean, I didn't actually lie to him, but I'll make it nevertheless.
Yeah.
2 dice.
Okay, that's fine. So just to give you an idea, so manipulation. On a success, you get what you want. Failure means the other person distrusts you or dislikes you. That you take a condition or that she is reinforced in her original convictions. Players can make observation tests to resist your influence. Basically, I'm on the observation test, which is why he's suspicious of you at the moment. Here we go. When you get more successes than you need, you can use them to impose a mental condition on your opponent, 1 for each extra success. So you can basically browbeat them a little bit. Okay?
Yes, let's do that. Let's add that, if I can, I'll add that extra success to... I don't really want him angry or frightened. What about hopeless?
Yeah, hopeless
Why
is
not
fine.
just kind of give him her willing smile? Not willing, winning smile.
Yeah, call it hopeless. That's fine. He's like, I didn't mean to question you, but obviously it is my duty to have Miss Elfaclynt's interests at heart. I'm actually at the end of the day
Absolutely.
executor, and unfortunately with such a substantial property and there are rumours of great fortune, the Elfaclynt fortune, etc. It is we do tend to have quite a few, shall we say, chancers through the door. You can see he's
just lean on my cane and lean towards him, sort of, so that obviously my chest is forward and my head kind of comes up to compensate, so it really kind of shows off the dog collar a lot, and say to him, chances, you say. Again, kind of just pushing the idea that perhaps he's said the wrong thing to the wrong person.
And it's unfortunate, a bit of a problem. You can see he starts to fall over his words. I think he's kind of realising that, yeah, he seems definitely a little flustered here at the moment. He's definitely on the back foot. Unfortunately, one meets so many undesirables, and dear Linnea, she's such a lovely woman that I have to have her best interests at heart. And you wouldn't believe me, some of the types we have through the door trying to get interviews with her and asking, begging for money and such like. It's one of the main duties as the guardian of her estate. So I have to see them off. Obviously, I accept Father that your good credentials. Again, he's glancing at you, Scott,
Yes.
a little bit.
Smile.
And obviously, you're yourself, Doctor. So please tell me, so this book you're writing about solitary living, tell me more about it. What are your interests?
Basically about how it impacts on people's mental health. It's quite interesting to see that some people go insane, and yet other people thrive. Fascinating. Trying to figure out what it is about the personality that makes one so very different from another.
Yes, we all have our little quirks. Fortunately, dear Linnea, she's an old friend of mine. She's She's not set foot inside the castle itself since the fire. I don't think that the sight of her beloved city burning probably, I'm convinced, has sent her over the edge. We've had her we've had her under the care of Dr. Nicholas Fredge at the asylum. She's one of his. The class was one of his first class patients. He does take good care of her, and she's been released on her own recognizance several times. But
I don't intend to attempt to find some cure for her. I would just really love to hear her story, so that I can try and make sense of it.
Yes, well, I'm sure you'll if you wish, I could. You can see he's still quite taken aback. I think he's glancing between the four of you. Nero sort of like lurking in the background as well.
Please feel free to check my credentials. I assure you I am an honest, practicing doctor.
Well, I can certainly approach Linnea and Miss Elfaclynt to see if she would be willing to meet you. She has her days, I'm afraid. Some good, some bad.
Write down where we are, so that you can let us know what the decision is from her.
Certainly. It would take me a little while. I'll send the boy, the runner, to your address if that's applicable.
That would be fine, thank you.
That's very good of you. We're staying at the guest house on Odin Street.
Mrs. Rasmussen's?
Mrs. Rasmussen's.
Indeed.
It's one of the few buildings untouched by the fire. Actually, that street was quite badly hit.
It's very beautiful. Her house, not the street.
Yes, she seems like a kindly old lady.
She has, unfortunately, the fire has driven many away, and it's kind of blighted the business somewhat. Most of as you can see, most of her neighbours perished in the Great Fire as it swept through. Terrible, terrible night for the city. Many of us sheltered on the banks of the river that night.
The experience must have been terrifying.
Oh, it truly was. Mike, as you're talking to him, you see him beginning to open up a little bit.
That's why I'm trying to open dialogue.
Yeah. You're doing the same.
I'm just watching.
Observation, perhaps?
Yeah, observation.
It's a roll for me, please.
Certainly, Becky, you can roll one as well. So you've got dice in that. Yeah, you can see you definitely put him on the back foot. I'll definitely be with just that sort of questioning and that whole basically not quite accusing him of being liars or vagabonds or what have you, but he's definitely a little off put. You think probably you might get him to open up a little bit more? Observation, by the way. Extra successes add +1 to a test where the information is useful to you. Failing the test means that you give yourself away to the opposite party and must disclose your player character's thoughts, feelings, and intentions. So it's a double-edged sword is the observation one.
My child, you seem distressed. Is there anything I, as a man of the cloth, can do to ease you in this time? Because I feel that perhaps there is a great burden upon your shoulders as of late. I can just see it in your expression. I can sense it in the air. Is everything satisfactory in your life at the moment?
It's well. The business hasn't been great, but fortunately the cattle killing crew's account has been a godsend. It's been keeps the wolves from the door, as they say. Fortunately, the trust fund has basically keeps me in business, and whilst I'm administering to Miss Elfaclynt's affairs, it's definitely entertaining.
Is this the information that I think he's gearing towards, or do I think I need to push him a little bit more for it?
You get the impression. I think if you listen to what he said there, he did indicate something. So I'm not going to give it all of it. You've got him to open up that there's a trust fund there.
It wasn't just the fact that there's a trust fund, there's the fact that he's being paid enough for her to solely keep his business afloat. So everything else from there on in would be gravy.
Should anyone turn up to take her away, he'd lose an awful lot. The trust fund and probably his business.
It seems that you owe Miss Elfaclynt a great deal.
He's obviously basically got the front room is his office, but you can just know the room at the back isn't going to be the dining room, it's going to be his bedroom.
Clearly not enough to get you out of rented accommodation, however.
The account is a simple one, and it keeps a roof over my head. Fortunately, Miss Elfaclynt is a interesting character to administer her affairs. Since she inherited the castle, it has been a problem. But I say since the night of the fire itself, obviously she's refused to set foot back in the place.
Inherited the castle from whom?
She goes, well, that's a fascinating story, actually. So the castle was, and you can see he starts to light up as you get him onto his almost. So the castle was, it was interesting. It was actually the property of a Baroness Katia Kokola. She transferred the deeds to Miss Elfaclynt in 1840. Shortly afterwards, she disappeared. So since 1840, Miss Elfaclynt has been the sole owner of the castle. The fate of the Baroness has been subject to a few rumours in the town. The place always had a bit of a reputation. The Baroness and some previous owners have shady goings on, they say, occultists. It's one of some of the grander rumours about the castle in the past. The Baroness caused a little bit of a. There's always seen some of the society pages. She lived there with two others. It was a menage a trois, as they say, in the past. But,
excuse me?
The rumours were she lived there with two others.
Yes, well, that's well, I'm certain that's neither here nor there.
Oh no, absolutely. Probably all things would be completely proprietary, of course. I wouldn't intimate anything.
So who checks on the house these days? The castle these days?
It has been shut down these last 4 years since the fire.
And does nobody at least go in and make sure that he hasn't broken in or anything?
I regularly check the perimeter of the house myself for signs of ingress. It's quite a secure building, and to be frank, very few people go near the place.
Why?
I'm not sure. It always has local children tell ghost stories about it. Others just seem to avoid it. It always has that. You see it sitting there, sort of brooding in the middle of the devastation of the fire. It's just not.
It is a rather imposing building, dark and ominous, especially as the evening draws in. But quite charming in the light of day. But nevertheless, we have taken up too much of your time. We should probably return to our boarding house, unless, of course, there's anything else you care to add. Just trying to, again, just tease out any other information he might be feeling like volunteering.
Yeah, I was going to say make a manipulation roll.
I got one.
You keep him talking, and he seems to let things slip. Or he let his guard down a little bit. He goes, make arrangements for you to visit Linnea. She may wish, however, to meet you outside of the asylum. She, as someone who is being, she admitted herself, therefore there's no real restrictions on her leaving. She does occasionally takes rooms in the town. I'll make contact, I'll make arrangements, and I'll see whether she wishes to meet you either at the asylum itself or under consultation with Dr. French, of course, as to her condition, or at her rooms in town.
That would be marvellous.
I'll get on it straight away. Hopefully I'll have news for you later this afternoon.
Thank you.
You have a good heart, sir. It is good to speak with someone who shows such care.
Yeah, thank you. She is a valued client.
Yes, of course. Should we return back to our B&B? Leave this gentleman to his notes.
Indeed, it's a wonderful treat on the way home.
Well, yes, we seem to be in a nice shopping district. Let's see if there's anything interesting within some of the stores.
You spend the day basically going to a bit of tourist mode as you walk around the city. You do find you're able to eat out. You've got Uppsala Castle, which kind of sits above the town, sort of looms above it. You've got the university, which is it's massive. Basically, you managed to pick up that it was actually thanks to the patroncy of King Gustavus Adolphus. He donated 400 farms and their lands to Uppsala University, so it is a fantastically rich and also huge building. And it's added that actual really sort of young vibe. There's also parks and gardens seem to be there's a lot of open space here. They're neatly arranged and very pretty and picturesque. Actually, I think probably on a summer's day, Uppsala would be a genuinely nice place to be.
Yeah.
You've always got just on this sort of the edge of town. You can see the wilderness. You can see the mountains. You can see the forests. Do you think that it's on that edge? There isn't much in terms of civilization beyond Uppsala.
Yeah. Maybe the old farm, but that would be it.
Yeah. Of interest to you, Becky, you also find that it has a quite massive botanical garden. University hospital.
See if I can arrange a tour. I'm taking Wigan to be here for 2 days.
You know that it's actually got a reputation for being possibly one of the most modern hospitals in Scandinavia.
All the more reason to want a tour.
Yeah, you've heard it by reputation alone, so you're one of the reasons why you're actually quite glad to be here. It's got 16 wards, each ward managed by a chief physician. It even includes operating rooms, autopsy rooms, its own chapel. It's genuinely an absolute. It's obviously linked to the hospital, so it links to the university. So it's obviously a training place for the new young doctors of Scandinavia to come from. Alan, you know that the cathedral holds great power here. Heinrich Ruterstol, he has his seat in Uppsala. You also know the cathedral itself is possibly the largest in the whole of Scandinavia. So it's got a massive bell which is called the Storen. It can be heard throughout the city. Also, it's room with the altar The altar actually contains a relic of the true cross.
That would be quite the sight.
You actually do make a point, as you're in tourist mode for the afternoon, you make a point of paying a quick visit. One thing that absolutely blows you away is the organ. It actually takes up an entire wall of the cathedral. It is massive.
Impressive.
Yeah, absolutely impressive. I mean, you're used to sort of like your local churches and everything else, and you've always, again, it's on a list of things you've wanted to visit.
Soak in the ambience, move amongst the people, offer some words of encouragement.
I mean, basically, you can see it's quite a devout crowd here. Obviously, in the seat of the Archbishop of, the Bishop of Sweden, it's the church has sway and has a strong congregation. You see, there are priests, lay preachers, lay brothers, although just after it is a fully functioning cathedral community. It's not just a building that stands on its own. There are houses built. There are cloister houses and everything dotted around it. You think probably it's definitely some resource here that you could draw on. Same with you, Becky.
Reinforce people's faith and remind them of the virtues of charity.
Yeah, you take your time to do that. Scott.
Yep.
One thing you don't see, make a vigilance roll.
Oh, bloody hell. 1. Got one.
Got one.
Yeah. Surprised.
To be honest with you, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. And what you don't see are beggars.
Yeah. Yeah, not wanted. They bring down the ambience of the place. Yeah, I get that feeling straight off. Okay.
Yeah, it's just something you just notice that you don't see them on the street much at all. You do see occasional, just in some of the alleyways, you do see the occasional face peek out.
Yeah.
What you're not seeing is they're not that visible.
Everybody likes to say they're helping, but when they actually see them, they don't want to help them. Seen and unheard. Not seen, not heard of. Of course we help the poor, we just don't want to see them.
But it kind of frames something for you, actually, because you've been getting quite funny looks.
Yeah.
I mean, just because of your clothing, and the fact you just look like a crazy old man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just out of character. But obviously, it's just... But yeah, it's just something you just notice, and it's just there, and you realise that actually, this is not a city for the poor.
Mm-hmm.
But they're there. They're definitely there, but they're not visible.
Yeah.
They're not. They're
out of sight, out of mind.
Very much so.
Of course, they had the fire there as well. And of course, if you've got homeless living on the streets, I mean, where else are they going to be other than amongst the buildings in the alleyways and the like? I wonder if the homeless population has been decreased somewhat because of it. On top of that, in a place like this that's had all of this damage, there might not be as many say tourists coming through. So free money is probably on the decline as well.
Mm.
That and constabulary with sabres is scary.
That's the other thing, isn't it? When vagrancy is probably a crime, and the police are no nonsense, I expect that they've probably moved on, maybe at least to the outskirts of the city.
That's in a case of zero tolerance.
They've probably got enough on their plate when it comes to this revolutionary group that they've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, as you sort of discussed, you think Scotland could be linked if they're really repressing the poor members of society. Do you think they could be?
Yeah, they got to go somewhere. So
yeah, I'm kind of lurking right in the centre of town, just opposite the cathedral on Vaesen Street is the local police station, and that's actually remarkably run down. very utilitarian. And the coppers all turned out immaculately, but the building itself has a definite doesn't look nice. It's a bit fire damaged. It's never been really repaired, or at least shoddy repairs. And it's just got it. It just kind of lurks, just kind of sits there in the middle of that block. Just quite an impressive, ugly-looking building. But you do manage to basically spend quite a pleasant day in Uppsala, familiarising yourself with the city. So the botanical gardens, in particular, with the little palaces, and here is most pleasant. You're able to find street vendors for food. Do you think quietly, if you were here in summer, it would be a beautiful, beautiful city?
Head back to the guest house about early afternoon, because we said that we would be there from the afternoon on.
Certainly. You head back in, and basically she kind of wants you out of the way so that she can get on with doing, putting on the meals and doing everything else. But she does, she has hot drinks brought out to you. Sounds like it's some kind.
There must be like a sitting room.
Yes, there is. There's a guest sitting room. You can retire there. She's got a small library of books to read, games. There's a piano, and you amuse yourselves for the afternoon. About 4 o'clock, there's a knock on the door, and it's the boy from the furrier shop. Mr. Oskich asked me to give you this. He hands you a letter.
Thank him and give him a couple of pennies.
Yeah, he thanks you and pockets them and runs off. So that is a very neat. It's literally a very, very neat cursive hand. The guy's a notary for a reason. Down here a scribe. You can see his beautiful handwriting. Basically, he informs you that Miss Elfaclynt will be in a position to receive you tomorrow after 10 a.m. at the asylum.
Okay.
Okay. The night passes. The meal tonight is another hearty stew. It's warming, it's filling, and as the temperature is dropping, you kind of need it. Your beds they have at least, she has put basically water bottles, hot water bottles in the bed. These are like the proper, actual terracotta type flasks full of boiling water in your bed, so at least they're warmed up for you when you get into them, which I'm kind of glad, because it's probably going to be icy out there tonight. But the night passes well. Breakfast is pretty much the same as yesterday, to be fair, but it's warming and it gets you set up ready for the day, and you find yourselves making your way across Uppsala. Does anyone want to do anything before we get into the scene at the asylum?
It might be prudent to put a blessing upon one of our characters. Once per game session, you can bless an object or another player, or anyone using the object gains the blessed advantage, adding +2 to a test of their choice. I'll put that on Becky's character, because she tends to do a lot of talking if I don't.
I was going to say, for those with the game open on Forge, you can make a note of that in your notes section.
Yeah. Somebody make a note that I've been blessed.
Okay. You make your way across the city. It is brisk this morning, and the pavements are feeling a little bit slicker under your feet. You can definitely think it must have frozen last night. It's edging off now by the time you make your way across, but you do actually have to cover a good distance. The asylum sits on the outskirts of the city on a slight hill, and it's right to the south. South on the western side of the River Ferrisk.
Oh,
Yeah, so you pass You pass the university hospital. You pass the. Fortunately, the asylum is actually located. Well, there's a lot of parks at that end of the city, which does kind of shield the asylum a little bit from the city itself. But when you get there, you do pass a couple of wagons. Basically, these things are horse-drawn box bags, quite imposing sort of black painted wagons. I think they're probably done to look sort of anonymous, if you know what I mean. But they just look imposing as hell, and you can hear as they go past you. So either a couple of them go past it, either the cackling or the screaming of the people inside of them. The asylum itself, you find it's imposed by a really imposing black iron fence. This thing is a good 6 foot plus tall. I say that the whole building's got this low stone wall with this bloody great solid iron fence. It's topped with little spear points as well. It's not something you'd think twice about climbing over, put it that way.
Yeah.
Right, it's sort of set in its own grounds. The building itself is it seems to be a building of 2 wings with a large central block. And 2 wings radiating out, and again there's like an inner wall as well, which is quite a high affair. You can't see much of the wings themselves. Driveway leads up. It's a short walk up to the driveway, and you walk up to the central administration block, across a gravel path, and you see in the grounds you see people. They seem to be wearing quite simple patient's uniform is the best way to put it. Some of them. Simple white off grey affairs with again simple woolen coats thrown over to guard them, and some of them are picking flowers, some of them have orderlies walking with them. Some are obviously quite seriously disabled or insane, as the vernacular at the time. Others just look almost perfectly normal. You're greeted at the imposing double wooden doors. An orderly comes out. He's wearing a very, very neat white shirt, tie. He's got it's an apron, but it comes to a V and it's buttoned. It's actually the apron is attached to one of his shirt buttons. It doesn't have the usual kind of straps over the shoulder.
Okay.
But it's still sort of tied at the waist, very tight at the waist. It's got a quite tight-fitting black waistcoat on over the white shirt and black tie as well. Lucy goes, "Can I help you? Is this an admission?" He's glancing at you, Scott.
You were.
We have an appointment with Lady yada yada.
Miss Elfaclynt. I'll, if you'd like to come this way and sign it, if you'd be required to sign in. The orderly sort of walks you into it's basically the foyer of the asylum, and in here you don't see any of the residents, inmates, but you certainly bloody hear them. There's definitely just this constant burble of people in distress. There's no two ways around it. I doubt anyone could get peace here. There's just that constant, that wailing, screaming, hysterical laughter. It's just there. It's a constant background noise that just sets you on edge a little bit.
Is it too early a time period to have the gramophone playing?
Yeah, 1863. So the gramophone is no. It is too early.
Nothing terrifies me more than that chirpy, upbeat gramophone music with the cackling of the mad in the background. I think that just hits the nail right on the head.
Well, here you've just got, but it's not at a high level here, but it is definitely, once you're inside all the, you notice the place it's a very functional red brick and terracotta tile exterior. Inside there is some wood, but it's got a clinical feel to it. Everything is definitely white clean in here. He escorts you over to the main desk because unfortunately before you enter the premises we will have to ensure that you're not carrying any weapons. Therefore, any weapons or anything that could be used as a weapon. He looks at basically your sticks. Because unfortunately we'll have to put them in unless you need it for walking further.
Surely you would not deprive an old man of his walking stick.
He looks at you. I'm happy to assign an orderly to help you walk further. However, it's not me depriving you of a walking stick. It's what some of the inmates are capable of doing with it that concerns me. So we will need to check some of these in, and then once we've got you checked in, signed in, I'll take you to see Dr. French. I believe he's aware of your visit. He basically doesn't quite search you, but he definitely takes anything that is visible and could be used as a weapon off you. Not by you, but by other people. You know? Logs everything and basically puts it into a locker and gives you the key.
Oh, okay, so hand over my stick and my knife.
Yeah.
At least the one you can see.
Yeah, he looks at it and puts it in. He does eye you, Scott. And it's not a friendly look either.
No, look him up and down. Basically narrow my eyes at him. If he's narrowing his eyes at me, narrow them back at him.
Oh yeah, he wants to. Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, and this guy is not a nice human being. You can see it. You can make an observation check.
Oh yeah, 2. Oh god, on 4 dice I get 2. Wow.
Essentially, as you're looking at this bloke, you kind of realise that your initial impression is that this is a hard man. He has seen things here, and nothing seems to faze him anymore. And yeah, you just get the impression that he would quite honestly beat the shit out of you rather than look at you. You in particular, not necessarily the others, but you in particular.
If I see these two eyeing each other, just step forward and say, "Well, my good sir, if everything is in order, perhaps we could move on. I'm not best keen to be in this place for too long, for obvious reasons. If these inmates are as potentially volatile as you've made them out to be."
He looks and goes, he just looks and goes, "Father, there are some godless things in this place. Yeah. Maybe your servant here could support you, or I can have an orderly do so if needs be."
"Oh no, that's fine. Yes, my good man here, he'll help me should my body falter. Of course, my faith does not, and if I can give some comfort to those around me, then so all for the best. I'm certain we'll be more than fine in your presence. Please lead on."
Seem to basically the asylum seems to have. It definitely has 2 wings. This central administration block, stroke treatment block, is obviously shared between the 2. But you definitely, the most noticeable thing is you actually see above the doors on the ground floor, first class, the second class.
I expect we're being led down the first class wing.
You're led upstairs, actually.
Okay.
Quite a wide set of steps. Banisters on either side kind of sweep up onto the second story. This building's basically a good 3 stories tall.
See, that's got me curious now. I'm wondering if the second class residents here are a little less well taken care of.
You get up onto the second story, go through some, basically you walk through almost he guides you through some treatment areas. and wards, and obviously this bit is you make an observation roll, Becky. On that one, you got a 1. You get the impression that you're being given the tour.
Right.
This is for show, pretty much. And what you've got is like it's all very brick and white tile, nice tiles on the floor. It's yes, you've still got that constant sound of human distress in the background. And you hear the occasional whoop, laughter, scream. Quite a lot of screaming actually as you're going past some of the treatment rooms.
Yeah.
At one point, as you're going past, I'd like you all to make vigilance tests, please.
Doing well tonight. 1.
Somehow I got 1 as well.
Yeah, you all do it. Well done. You're just walking past one of the rooms. It's just as an orderly steps out, and you glance in, and actually what you see is a patient sort of basically sits in a chair, absolutely strapped to the chair. Their arms and legs are actually quite badly ulcerated. Sort of like pus just running from the wounds. They scream in absolute agony. It's just that glimpse for just a second as the door shuts and the orderly goes back his way. He's dressed in a very similar fashion.
Apron, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an apron, but it definitely just buttons at the chest, right at the sternum. There's no straps on it at all. And actually, when you think about it, it means that there's no straps for anyone to grab.
Yeah.
And if they do try and grab the front, it's just going to pull off on the button. I think it's actually a very deliberate thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that apron he's wearing is actually, they're supposed to be pristine white, and they're not. They're actually they're a little. It's quite almost looking quite dirty. In fact, he quickly shuts the door and bustles about his way, and you can hear like the screams of the sobbings coming from that room. A little bit, instantly almost it's quelled as soon as the big heavy door is shut. And you continue on your way to the building, up another flight of stairs, and eventually you're led to more of an administration area. And you're led through it to a point where they guides you into a waiting area. There's obviously a secretary there. He goes, "Hi." The woman looks at him and says, "Would you be the 10 o'clock from Mrs. Elfaclynt?"
Would indeed.
Excellent. Dr. Nicholas is just on his round. So Dr. Fauci's just on his rounds. He'll be with us shortly, then he'll take you down to see. If you'd like to take a seat. After, maybe about 10 minutes, a small, portly, very jovial little man. He's surrounded by a group of junior doctors, orderlies, nurses. Sort of bustles into the air, and you can see him basically sort of dictating, notes and everything else. Could I have a vigilance test, please, another one?
Not this time. No, nothing.
Becky, you have not failed a bloody roll all night. You hear him mention he's making a series of notes. The surgeons are, the doctors around him, nurses are making notes as he goes. And basically, you just hear him as he's walking into the room mention more of the caustic treatment for Mr. Nistrom. It seems like an odd, you've never heard of a caustic treatment before. At which point, as soon as he walks into him, he's like, yes, I see. Anyway, he looks at the others and goes, dismissed. And he goes, please, come join me in the office. You are the visitors for Miss Elfaclynt, are you not?
We are.
Mr. Hotchkiss mentioned that one of you's a doctor. Basically, he looks more at Miro at this point than anybody else. Kind of ignores you, Becky. He goes, Dr. Angstrom?
Fine. That would be me.
He looks a little bit. One of the new breed of lady doctors. So
Yes, one of the progressive sort.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I understand you're doing a study on loneliness, according to Mr. Hotchkiss.
Indeed.
Well, I hope you will find Miss Elfaclynt an interesting study. She's been a long-term, sort of one of my first-class patients for a number of years now, ever since the Great Fire. She's refused to return to her home. Seems to exhibit a certain degree of what I call it, persecution complex. It's quite a complex case, but she's quite convinced, one doctor to another, that someone is hunting her. She can be a little irascible, I should warn you now, but fortunately she's a case that's self-admitted, so she was free to go at any particular time, and she just chooses to discharge herself, which she has done on several occasions, I should say. But she always ends up here again within a few months. It's a shame. She's one of the great castle in the old days. It was the seat of absolute culture here within the town, but these last 4 years, it's sad to see it go since the fire and the way it's gone. So, do you like me to take it down?
Indeed.
Your colleagues here, they're also medical doctors, or apart from the good father here?
No, they are just friends.
Friends and associates, yes. Well, anyway, just like to follow me, we'll take you down to see Linnea. She seems to be having one of her better days today, fortunately. He takes you out to the left and towards the first class wing. It seems to be the wings are separated off by doors on each and every floor. And you notice that actually when you go through that door, there's actually an orderly station right by the door. This is where the asylum changes. From what you've seen so far, you've seen like the treatment area, the administration area, and it's quite. It didn't feel like an asylum, or like a hospital. But the second you get through those doors into the wings, you folks are definitely in an asylum. There are bars. The next door you come to is a set of bars. You know, these people are definitely locked up here. And the volume level goes up as well. That constant murmur you heard before of human distress, it's now actually palpable. You do hear sobbing from the rooms as you pass them. You hear sobbing. You hear sounds of laughter, crying, screaming as you go here through. You don't think this place has ever been quiet. Yes, and he's sort of beginning to say, he starts talking, it's possible we've tried a number of absolute revolutionary treatments here with some of our patients. Linnea, she hasn't responded well, unfortunately, to some of the more revolutionary treatments. And we've only been able to go so far with her. I would love to try the new electrotherapy upon her, but unfortunately, I don't think we'll get anywhere.
Tell me, Doctor, what treatments have you had success with?
Well, the current most revolutionary one is one I'm trying at the moment, which is the caustic treatment. We finally treat the patient's limbs with caustic scrubs. It forces the flesh to open and to exude the mucus, which I believe to be actually causing some of the mental distress. As far as I can tell, there's a mucus build-up within the brain itself, which causes some of the mental symptoms. But the new electrotherapy, that absolutely fascinates me. I've got one of the new battery chairs.
It sounds most fascinating. One would think that if they had a build-up of mucus, then a good sneeze would sort them out, but evidently not.
Oh no! It definitely appears to be a build-up within the brain, but pressure itself. It's unfortunately, as some of my dissections on some of our deceased prisoners have shown, that the brain itself is quite well. The brain case is quite well contained.
Good Lord, man! I thought you would have been slightly more progressive than relying on the human.
To be fair, in 1863, medicine is absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah, it is. I know.
I mean, we're talking. I think phrenology is still a thing at this point.
Phrenology is still a thing. Yeah. Bleeding. Yeah, basically leeches, bleeding. It's all a thing. You know. And you kind of realise that as he's talking about something, he seems to be experimenting on the patients, and just trying a whole series of really just some of the descriptions he created. It doesn't shock you as a doctor per se, Becky, because at the end of the day, anything goes.
Yeah.
But Scott, Alan, Bob's character Mira, you guys are a little taken back by some of this. It doesn't sound like medicine.
No, this is a torture chamber. They're right in my head. As soon as I look at that guy out the front, no, these guys are here just to hurt people.
Tell me, Doctor, how many successful rehabilitations have you had in this facility?
Watch his face intently.
And really observe his reaction.
Oh, we can both make a roll. Oh, look, you failed one.
But I got a success.
Got a success. What you get, Becky, you don't really spot it at all. He starts talking about mostly. He says, well, he says, obviously most of our more experimental treatments are carried out here on our on the B-wing patients. So he kind of indicates behind him, so you think, yeah, probably where it says second class. He says, we have quite a high number of them come into the rural provinces, reported by the local pastors, policemen, etc. Some of these poor fools think that seeing elves, or think that direwolves are hunting them in the night. So, yeah, we're starting from a fairly low bar, I'm afraid. However, we have some mixed success. Yeah, he's deflecting.
I could tell just from... Well, that's all very interesting, but I'm curious as to how many complete and successful rehabilitations, how many people have been released back into their normal lives.
Unfortunately, many of the cases are chronic, but at least what we can do is we can relieve their symptoms.
What of Miss Elfaclynt's symptoms?
So the fear, a definite persecution complex, a fear that she's being hunted. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of why she won't ever return to the castle again, but it's most strange case. As you're walking down through, by the way, I would like vigilant rolls, please, from everyone. For me. No, you had some sixes there, but the dice knocked them over. I do love that about these dice systems.
Got one.
You got one?
I also got one.
Yeah, the doctor is basically, in a roundabout way, saying no one's ever left here apart from the voluntary patients, the ones who've admitted themselves.
I already knew that, but I just wanted to put some pressure on him.
But you know, he's deflecting like a pro.
I'm a priest. I know how to deflect questions.
Dr. Angstrom, you're quite busy listening to this and sort of like trying to just get a sense of these revolutionary new treatments he's trying. And yeah, you're kind of listening in and you're not really paying attention. The other two, yeah, you guys kind of notice it. It's getting quite... You're walking down this long corridor, you're coming towards the end of it, and you've got those screens coming from either side. You've got the just this horrible smell of caustic soda in here as well. It's kind of like it's just there, each itching away at your nostrils. The corridor itself doesn't seem to have much in the way of natural light. There's just gas lamps, and there's that quite stink of the gas lamps as well, as they just gently flicker against the black frost that's slowly creeping around the doorway of one of the rooms. The doctor is just quite happily chatting, absolutely oblivious. They're talking about latest treatment methods, and in particular, he seems to be engaging with you, Dr. Armstrong, in particular, on the whole new electrotherapy and the DC batteries, the direct current batteries they seem to be using.
Yeah.
And the lead acid mixtures, which seem to be able to produce. He's talking about things about amps and volts and stuff like that, which I'm not quite sure what the hell he's talking about. But he does mention that it does seem to be able to sort of like calm and subdue many of the more violent patients, at least temporarily. He's saying the
And
cranial.
I'm kind of thinking, yeah, like people that have just been struck by lightning.
Yeah,
It was kind of quiet for a while.
Yeah, they tend to be. Yes, their tiny little brains are fried. Yeah, and he's kind of explaining how sometimes depending on the condition, sometimes it's the cranial electrodes, sometimes it's the rectal ones that make the most difference. It's basically he's getting quite. You're quite absolutely fascinated, and you really don't notice the others as the fact that, yeah, guys, you come into this door, and he's quite happily just basically he's just reached up and goes, we're here at Linnea's room, Miss Elfaclynt's room now. And at which point, you're kind of still oblivious, but you've got also picked up that there's definitely screaming coming from inside that room, but it's not a female scream, it's a male scream, and then suddenly realise there's a pending on the door, and there's just this black frost is literally just creeping around the edges of the door, creeping along the walls, and it's definitely a black frost. There's no other two ways around it.
Look to the father, look back at the wall, look back at him.
Is this another one of your revolutionary medical treatments, Doctor?
He's looking at it, he goes, what do you mean? I mean, oh dear, one moment. He steps up, he's completely and utterly oblivious to this, and it's almost like just tendrils of this black frosty light, and it's forming frost, the way frost forms those like branch patterns on the tiles. It's forming, it's like that, like frost on the window, and it's sort of spreading out from around the room on the tiles, and all of a sudden you realise there is just this absolute pounding screaming of a male voice on the door. The Doctor just opens the door quite quickly. He just unlocks it quickly, and this orderly just throws himself out of the room, literally almost on the floor, and scrabbles back, literally white as a sheet, as this. It's a voice that just hits you with a hammer, and it just says one thing: "Get out!" And it's. The man goes absolutely white. He's terrified. He's almost apoplectic with fear. The Doctor's he almost seems to be completely oblivious to this. He looks at him and goes, "For God's sake, Kurt, what is the matter with you, man? This is unbecoming behaviour." And he kind of gets the man up to his feet, and the man's literally, he's really distressed. What are you guys doing?
I'm actually going to play it cool. I mean, we know between us, the party, that we can all see things that we shouldn't.
We can all see Vaesen, and not everybody can see Vaesen, so he has no idea what's going on.
No, so we need to play this cool, because if we start freaking out about things that we can't see, he's going to probably lock us up. Relax, pay it no mind, and then have our discussion with Linnea and leave absolutely normal behaviour.
The Doctor just basically literally just stands the man up on the feet. He doesn't quite slap him, but he just gives him a really strong verbal rebuke. Yeah, it really is, you know? He just snaps out a few orders, and the guy does seem to sort of like come around to his senses and just gets away from that room. You can see he's terrified. Absolutely terrified. He turns to you and goes, "I must apologise to you for that. I don't know what's come over the man. He's been one of my most stalwart assistants for a number of years. I'll have to.
Risk is to everyone, sir. Please, don't worry about it."
I imagine being in such a place all day, every day, can make one potentially lose their faith in humanity.
Indeed. You know, I do hope. Shall we?
I do hope that such exposure to insanity is not catching. I hope it's not contagious to you or anything.
It is a failure of the pollution of the soul, or perhaps obviously I believe it is the humours and the mucus which actually forms the pressure on the brain is the main thing. I don't believe it does have a. Unlike a disease, for example, which it can be passed from one to the other through contact with physical body fluids, for example,
like a mucus.
Like a mucus, yes, definitely.
So you don't want to get any of it on your hands?
Yes, you may have got the impression the Doctor's a little obsessed. Or, to be frank, the lunatic could actually be running the asylum.
This is what I was just about to ask. Do I think that this man is just as mad as everyone else?
I think the answer is... I will give you a observation roll. It's not exactly your field. You have seen the mentally distressed in your job as a parson, as a vicar. So I'd like 2 successes, just because it's not exactly your thing. Oh, you got them. Well done. You don't think he's the most mentally stable individuals in the world?
He's not talking to walls, but perhaps his role has taken its toll a little.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Anyway, he ushers you into the room. Your eyes have to adjust a little bit because the corridor itself is relatively dark. The room itself it's an end room. It's got 2 windows. It's a corner room, so obviously, it's probably one of the more expensive private rooms here because it's got the extra window. I say it's a very light, airy room. It does, from the dimness of that corridor, it takes your eyes a little bit of a while to adjust. So, not to a side, but not over, is a medical gurney. With medical gurney's been knocked to one side. Some of the bowls have been displaced. There's again that strong caustic smell. Obviously cleaning stuff, or possibly the doctor's caustic treatment, perhaps. The room itself has a bed, table, chair, small book stand, a gas lamp sealed on the wall. The patient couldn't get to, and there's no controls in the room, put it that way, you notice. And sat at a table by the window is what you would describe as a little old lady. And she looks up and just beams at Doctor. Goes, good morning, Doctor.
Walking a bit closer and introduce myself.
You're the new doctor Mr. Hotchkiss mentioned, yes? And what about your friends here? Motley collection, aren't they?
I cock my head quizzically at that remark.
So how do we find you today?
Well, a little bit distressed, Doctor. She looks not to you, to Dr. Fredge. He goes, Kurt tried that treatment on me again, and I told him I don't want it. Why did you send it? The doctor kind of like, well, it is the latest thing. We thought it might just help your condition to help your worries and ease your mind. At which point she just looks, and there is, you guys feel it. You all feel it. There is a palpable slap of force that comes from that woman. The temperature in that room just drops to almost sub-zero. It kind of is that cold. It actually takes the breath out of your lungs. As she just literally it almost not her voice, just as commanding Beverage just says, "Get out!" And the doctor just literally almost takes a step backwards. And again, you just see that level of black frost just literally emanate across the floor from her. And the doctor goes, and literally the doctor he staggers backwards just a moment, and then he just goes, I'll leave you to it then. Have a nice day. If you wish anything, well, please just shout to one of the orderlies, and I'll see if I can send some tea down. That'd be nice. And then he just turns and walks. It's the damnedest thing you guys have ever seen.
Maybe, maybe not. As he leaves, I gently sort of close the door, push it to, so that we won't be overheard. And I turn to Miss Elfaclynt, and I say to her, "That was most impressive. Quite the show. I take it then you have some clue as to why we're here?"
I guess that depends who sent you.
As it stands, we've come a long way. We've come all the way from Stockholm to see you. I won't mince words, and I won't try to deceive you. We're here because we're trying to understand the unusual condition that has befallen each of us.
Well. 5 Thursday's children in one room together. I haven't seen that for a very long time. Go on, you intrigue me.
We've already witnessed the unusual black frost around your doorway, the great booming, commanding voice. We wish to know more about our condition. Is it permanent? Is it a gift? Is it a curse? We have each come to realise that there is a cross-section of society who might be able to help us with our cause, and that has led us here, and in turn to you.
Seriously, each one goes, so, you, the good doctor, what was the first thing that you saw?
A patient which they died, lie, alive even.
Interesting. And you, vagabond?
I've lived in the world probably more years than most here. Except yourself, no disrespect to that. I lived in the woods for an awful long time. I fell into the company of what's later found out by her own volition called the woodwife.
She laughs at that. Really? The woodwife, man? Very interesting. Tell me you've not had children with the beast.
Staying quiet.
She's
But just look at her.
I'm just looking at Victor at this point because each of us has received this distressing information or this distressing curse, but we probably weren't aware that he was so inclined.
She does chuckle as well. There are worse things to have a child with. The woodwives are relatively benign as long as you leave the trees alone.
We help each other. Still
And you, good father?
The dark shadows and the devil's minions made themselves apparent. I'm not certain exactly what they were. No amount of blessed ground would keep them at bay. Nevertheless, I do not know how it came to be. And that is why we are all here. I fear that none of us really know how such things came to be. And we need to understand our condition.
I can tell you now, we're a rare breed. In terms of your first question, it is a blessing, it is a curse, and it's with you for your life. I know of only one who to claim to have lost the sight. All belong here to the society.
So the society does exist.
It did, and probably all that's left of it now. There are branches. It was always a divided thing. Some sought to hunt the Vaesen and wipe them from the face of the earth. Others sought to protect them. Some just sought to protect humanity from them, mostly by understanding them. I probably fell into the latter of that category. But the society as we know it, that died when the three elders they left. Baroness Katia Piccola. She was my particular mentor. At the time, the society really consisted of three. It was her, Professor Albert Waldstein, Countess Hilma of Fellensteinra. Those were the three leaders of the society in my day. Redenstein went north to Norway in the late 1830s, chasing after lights in the sky. The Baroness was last seen getting on a ship in southern Sweden after leaving the castle to me. The Countess, she travelled east. Don't know where she went, or what she did. But those were the survivors of the massacre.
Massacre?
The massacre.
Yes, look, society is relatively ancient. It's got almost 250 years now. It wasn't called the Society originally. It's called the Order of Artemis. Dates back to a simple woman called Elsinore. She was a Dane, came from Zealand. Oh, sorry, she was born in. Sorry, as a woman, she was born in a town called Elsinore, the Danish island of Zealand. Her name was Tyne Rasmussen. She was really the first of what you call the society. The church found out about her gift, and she was driven from the town. Fortunately, the Vaesen and those friendly with her helped her escape the church. So she came to civilization, to the cities. She met a noble there called Mats Rosenberg. He was rich. Well, not that rich. He was rich in land, but poor in money. Money, as many nobles are. He'd lost his wife and child to a Vaesen. The trauma also gave him the gift. They were the founders. Tina Rasmussen, Mats Rosenberg. They formed a society, forged it into what it is, a group of like-minded Thursday's children, those who can see the Vaesen, as we call them, understand them, study them, combat them, learn how to put them down and to keep them down if they can. They always come back though.
Miss Elfaclynt, I must ask, if we are both blessed and cursed and destined to carry this sight forevermore, what then is our purpose? Have we been given this for a reason? Is there some greater power that has deemed that we should see these creatures? And if so, to what end?
She chuckles and she goes, well, that's the fundamental question of society, isn't it? Why do we exist? What is our purpose? Are we here to hunt the Vaesen? Are we here to protect the mortals? Or are we here to understand them and learn how to live with them? Some hunt them down mercilessly. The Rosenbergers, they call themselves, they're still around. They're buried and they're dark and they're secret, and they'll hunt and kill any Vaesen they find, whether it's a benign one, a benevolent one, or an absolute malignant one. They seem to fall into three categories, you know.
No, you see, this is the point. We don't.
You're going to need an
And
education
we need
then, aren't
more
you?
knowledge.
Do you know where most of the sighted are? Where most of them are, okay? Where they left? Shall I tell you?
Right here, I imagine.
Correct. Most of them have been locked up, or burnt at the stake, or hunted down and killed by their own families, or driven into the wilds. You're the biggest collection of Thursday's children I've seen in a very, very long time. That intrigues me. So, the society, I was worried it may die with me. You, on the other hand, you stand a chance of rekindling it.
We would stand a better one if you would mentor us.
I can help guide when I'm like I am now, when I'm more lucid, but there are times when I'm cloaked in fear and I know they're coming for me. That I need to, then I will not be able to help you. But I can do one thing. The castle, it was our historic home. It still has the libraries. It has many things, to be frank, but I'll leave you to discover those. I will help when I can. I'll give advice and guide you, but it's possibly down to you now to maybe form the society anew. Find others. There may be a few out there, the older members. Some of the acolytes like me from the who survived when the elders left. Hopefully they haven't been hunted down. They hunt me, you know. They'll probably start to hunt you eventually once they realise you're out there. You can see as she starts to draw back into herself, and we see almost like the shadows is beginning to form on her face.
Why are you saying that we should continue from where you ended off?
She goes, humanity need the society. People live in ignorance. It's only the few, the sighted, or I say they're locked up in B-wing, most of them, tortured by that little bastard French. He's convinced they're doing them good, but I doubt it. Fortunately, I managed to keep a certain amount of control on him.
Is that why you commit yourself? Or partially why? so that you can protect others from the misunderstandings of the average man? Or is it, as you said before, during your more lucid times? Or perhaps a combination of the two?
It's a bit of both. I can do the best I can for the Thursday's children in here. I can at least keep the worst of Reggie's treatments from them, keep them protected as much as I can. But to be frank, they're all far too gone in here. They've seen far too much, or what they saw blew their tiny minds. You're the first ones who are functioning, I've seen for a long time.
I see. You offer the use of your libraries freely?
I'll do more than that. I'll be here, or I might be at my rooms. I keep rooms. I've not been back to the castle, not since that night. I try to avoid the place now. I don't want to bring them to me. They're coming, you know. Just get prepared. They'll come for you as well. And she starts beginning to ramble. You can see her slipping away.
We shall speak again with Notary Hodgkiss. I think it might be prudent to let him know of our new arrangement.
She said, yes, I will. I will send the. She starts scribbling a note very quickly. You can see she's getting quite animated and almost shaking as she's writing. And she writes something. Has to give that to the notary. She goes, get out of here now, quick, do it. Save yourselves, run! And you can see, literally, you know that frost thing? It's beginning to literally extend from her fingers into the arm of the chair, and it's beginning to run down the floor. It's just like you can feel it. Just almost the cold is biting. You can almost see this, see the water in the glass beside her beginning to freeze.
Yeah, don't hang around.
Yeah, knock on the door.
Pull the door back open. Usher everyone out as quickly as possible.
You don't actually get the opportunity to shut the door because it actually slams with such force it splinters the wood.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think it's time to go, guys.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and you can see it. It's just there's just a palpable. It's just don't feel right. You've not seen power. You've seen monsters. You've seen the dead. You've seen demons haunting you. Some of you have seen ghosts. Some of you have seen actual proper women who live and are part tree. You've never seen power like that. So you're not quite sure what the hell you just saw.
Well, what seems to make it worse is we are largely unaffected by it, in the sense of obviously we've managed to remain cognizant. It seems that others have suffered much worse fates as a result of their sight.
Yeah, it does. I mean, she seems to be paying a very heavy price for it. Obviously, you met her, you think that was lucid. She could have been batshit crazy, you never know.
She could have been, but the likely scenario with all that stuff around her is that there is some element of validity to her story. I probably could have asked for an observation, but I think, considering we've come so far to get here, and all of our research has led us to this point, it seems, and of course what we've actually seen around the doorway and stuff, it seems to offer enough credence.
Yeah, there's definitely, you are not mad, none of you are mad. You've all seen things, you've met someone who's just ably demonstrated some kind of power that you're not aware of, even existed before. You know that possibly there are others like you who have not fared as well. And you've got the offer of a mentor. Someone, hopefully, who, when she's not batshit crazy, might be able to guide you a little bit.
Yeah.
And you've got the note.
What does it say?
Well, that's it. It's not in Swedish. It's not in any kind of it's written in some kind of runes. It's not in the standard Arabic alphabet that you're used to.
Oh, right, okay.
A cipher, perhaps?
Perhaps, yeah. There's only 2 or 3 rooms on it, and they're quite open. But it's definitely it's just there's nothing written. There's nothing you can discern from it.
Perhaps it's some secret between the two of them. I suggest we get this note to the notary as soon as is realistically possible, as that's the only really course of action we have left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make your way out. You as you like, walk out, you notice that actually a lot of the other inmates here now, they're beginning to kick up. You can hear the noise levels beginning to rise. There's a sense of excitement, distress. It's just gone up a notch. You know, a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for? Not warders. Staff, yeah, staff.
Keep it simple, mate.
Yeah, it's particular word I was looking for. It's gone.
Orderlies?
Orderlies, thank you.
Right.
The orderlies here, they're beginning to. You can see they're in that heightened state of alert. You pass as you go to leave. You pass the doctor, who is actually. He's got a hand on the shoulder of the man Kurt, who's just sat down sobbing in tears, just shaking like a leaf. Obviously quite a state of shock. The doctor's obviously gone from actually, just admonishing the man for his lack of decorum to actually just you kind of worried that Kurt might end up as one of the doctor's patients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The doctor barely acknowledges you. He nods as you go to leave. He just barely acknowledges you. And you can hear, when you get out, you hear also the noise level from the other wing as well. That's increasing as well. It's kind of, as you leave, you can see in the gardens, you can see some patients beginning to struggle with their orderlies. They're all behaving really quite erratically.
Make damn sure I grab my stuff before leaving.
Yeah.
Such behaviour might suggest that it's all connected.
She had some kind of connection over the others in trying to help them.
Well, she did say that she was doing the best she could for them.
Maybe it works both ways. They get riled. When she's calm, they're calm.
Which suggests possibly some kind of sympathetic link between them all. And maybe the longer we have this, well, maybe we need to be prepared for the fact that there's the possibility that we could all end up the same way.
Perhaps the only thing keeping us sane right now is the fact that we are naive and ignorant.
I know if I start down, I'm not ending up in a place like this.
Don't worry, they won't charge you any board.
I would rather be dead than end up in a place like this. I've seen animals treat each other better than these so-called helpers.
You make your way, having this conversation, down the drive, through the gates. I would like a vigilance test, please, from each and every one of you. Oh no! Becky didn't make any rolls. Oh no!
Bloody hell. 2.
2 successes.
Well, running for us.
The conversations like Pat is going around, and you're all kind of like in a bit of a hurry just to get away from the asylum. And it's noticeable. You kind of notice it more than anyone else, Scott. The good doctor, Milo, I'll just call him Alistair's character at the moment. You're kind of discussing amongst yourselves and just hurrying to get away from that place. But it's Victor, you notice that you just notice that sense of dread, that sense of getting away from the place.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, your sense of calm returns.
Stop. I mean, it's got to be quite a jolt from BP.
It is. It's just
on my heels.
With 2 successes, just that sense of wrongness just stops.
I literally just stop in my tracks.
You
I don't know if anybody's following me or not, and I just stop dead.
You guys notice that you're kind of walking on, talking, and all of a sudden you realise that, Victor, he's just stopped dead in his tracks, just trying to turn the gates.
turn around and walk back to him.
You feel that?
I felt nothing but despair in that place.
No. Everything stopped. Feeling of being watched, the pressure, all stopped when we walked through this gate. Stood on this side of the gate. I can't feel it anymore.
It's not as obvious to you because it's had to be pointed out. Okay? But yeah, you do notice that you kind of, as you sort of step through the gates, there is that you were all hurrying to get away from that place. But the second you get on the other side of that gate, no, that kind of that urge to leave, the urge to run is gone. As soon as you're on the side of that big black iron gate fence.
Is there not a thing about fairies and iron?
Have a investigation roll. Or no, it'd be learning, sorry. You can all make learning rolls.
Huh.
Yeah, 'cause I would have said that aloud.
Do you know, you had a 6 there, Becky, but it actually landed the dice then fell off.
Again!
Yeah. I love it. They do actually roll like proper dice, you know? And it only records them when they finish rolling as well. So it's just such a lovely mod, that.
No, not a chance. I don't have anything in learning, so it's just my stat.
Doctor, yeah, you've heard, so the pastor, I should say, yeah, you have heard from some of the more like the folklore about sort of, fairies being affected by cold iron, having some kind of effect on them. So maybe could be something to do with that, perhaps, with 2 successes. You know, the cold iron bit is the main bit you picked up on.
If it's keeping things away, then it must be keeping something inside the asylum. Perhaps that's part of the reason. All that iron will stop other things getting to her. But there's that sense of dread that's coming from inside. Or maybe there is something inside, something supernatural lurking in there.
Maybe something got locked in there at some point in time, and now because this whole place is surrounded by this fence, it can't get out. Quite as mad as they seem.
It seems that Linnea is, I'm loath to use the word as a priest, but what if she is possessed of some monster?
Well, if she's able to leave this place, so...
Indeed, and she does, often.
Yeah, so does the fact that she then walks through these gates leave that behind?
I doubt
So
it.
with a little luck, we can stop trying to think about it and maybe use the library. Research it.
We'll see what she's like when she leaves this place.
If nothing else, it gives us a starting point to work on anyway.
You discuss as you walk briskly across, back across Uppsala. And to be honest with you, you're quite happy to put as much distance as you possibly can between you and that bloody place. Are you stopping anywhere, or are you going straight to the notary's house? Notary's office?
I think the sooner we get to the notary's office, the better.
You know how bad it's probably going to look. Let's hope that those ciphers state somewhere that we're not taking her for a ride.
She would have written that for a reason, and it would be a reason which the notary will understand.
Certainly hope so.
At least that's the hope.
Either way, whether it's something that we can benefit from or not, we're no worse off than we were before. So we may as well just hand it over to him.
Yeah.
You make a brisk pace. You put distance between yourself and the and the asylum, you are glad to be back in the bustle of the city, to have like normal human beings around you, people just going about their everyday lives without eating their own poop. It's just, you're glad to just get back into the mundane world. The mundane is quite you find it pleasing and supporting, and just dealing with a little bit of normal people in their normal lives. You soon find yourself You soon find your way to Cloister Street, the furrier shop, and you're guided back up by the young boy Wolf again. Mr. Hoskins, he's actually going about. He's just obviously you catch him halfway through his lunch. There's a plate with a half-eaten pie upon it and a glass of beer beside it. He says, "Oh, please excuse me, you called me at my lunch. You've seen Linnea, and you're back here so quickly. Please tell me everything is okay with her."
Just pass him the note.
Give me good spirits today.
He looks at the note, and his face actually almost blanches a little bit. He goes, "Excuse me." Draws a key from a pocket, opens a he reaches down below his desk and sort of, you can see him turning the key. A door in the desk is open. There's then, you hear basically reaches for another key from another pocket. You hear that turning several times, and he draws out a notebook, reads it, compares the notes. He looks at you, she smiles, snaps the notebook shut, briskly puts it into the back into what obviously must be a safe in the bottom of his desk. And so, she did tell me this day would come. Quite, never thought I'd see it, but please, for one moment. He basically stands up, reaches into the bookcase behind him and opens up a ledger and just pulls a sheet of paper out of it and goes, "Please, here, sign here."
Have a cursory glance over what it says.
It's the deed to Castle Gillincruz.
I had a feeling it might be, but I just wanted to be sure we weren't being taken for a ride at first. Look it over, and if it all looks to be in order, then sign my name to it.
So your name's been added below her name. You are now co-owners of Castle Gillincruz. Yes, it's she did tell me this may happen, hence why she prepared the documents, and the cipher a little dramatic, but we agreed code previously. Keeps prying eyes from Linnea's business. Now, you'll be wanting the key to Castle. Has been locked up. I have been checking on it. As you notice, his demeanour's changed. There's the bumbling fool ain't there anymore. You know, it's he's very brusque about his business. He goes, I've been keeping an eye on the place. Exterior checks. I don't tend to wander around the castle itself. There's no need. However, no one's been able to get inside. You will probably need to think about staff at some point. However, I think the first things first, you better survey your property. He literally reaches down into the desk again and just hands quite a big ass old iron key to you.
Iron.
It's just a black iron key. I mean, it's literally as black as pitch, black from the forge. It's also obviously hundreds of years old. You can see that. Yes, I'm sure we'll be doing plenty of business over the coming years. As I said, it will be good to see the place at least alive again.
What are the locals going to say about this? Suddenly the castle being reoccupied.
I think it'll generate a lot of curiosity. But it'll be good for the town. take it as a sign. This town is growing back up after the fire. The castle reopening. Take that as a good sign. They'll take that as a good omen.
Okay.
Did Linnea say anything else about the fire to you?
We did inquire.
Best not to. She will come to that in her own good time. If she needs to contact you, I will act as an intermediary. I'll send messages. I'd assume that the standard protocol will be she will contact me, I will contact you. She has rooms at the Butcher and the Baker Inn I maintain for her. She occasionally puts herself on day release. She comes out and conducts business there. But she doesn't tarry long in the town. She prefers to be back at the asylum where she can keep an eye on things. She feels safer in there.
Okay.
Well, I look forward to a successful business arrangement with you. If you need anything, just give me a call. I'll be able to steer you in the right direction.